Farm4Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit Podcast.
Well, it's time for another great Farm for Profit episode. This is Tanner.
This is Corey.
And this is Dave.
We're hanging out in studio, one of the last studio shows we're going to do before we hit the trade show circuit. Excited? Are you guys excited to hit the road?
I am. I think reality set in yesterday for me that I'm only going to be here for like 3 days this next month. And,
This whole month, yes.
And it's a little concerning when you got a lot going on back home.
That's
So,
what the people want.
yeah,
The people want
We'll get
more
it done.
Corey.
we'll get it done.
We'll do more trade shows this year than I think we ever have.
It's pretty wild. We will definitely, I tell you what, when we show up, you better make it a great time because I bet you next year we pick and choose.
Yeah. So we can give a little preview because this is actually coming out pretty timely. So we're
Absolutely.
sitting at, as of this show coming out, we are sitting down in Nashville.
It's correct.
At Cattle Con.
Yeah, we already went to Land Investment Expo. You and I did,
Yeah.
Corey. You guys went to,
We went to Spain with Maya.
yeah.
Yeah, we will be sitting at the Custom Harvesters, Uchi's annual convention in Des Moines.
Yep, and that'll be done too.
That's over. Sorry you
week.
missed us there if you didn't get to that one.
Corey and I are going to New York Corn Growers Association.
And that's done. So we are, what's our next one after Cattle
National Farm
National
Machinery Show.
Show, Louisville, and then we go to Commodity Classic in San Antonio.
I got a little one in the middle, Digital Marketing Summit. Then we go, yeah.
When do you have time for that?
It's the day we come back.
It's
I
that
leave
third
again.
week of February
Yeah.
that everyone seems to be finding like, hey, you got time? It's like, this is my only time.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be absolutely exciting and it'll be absolutely exhausting. You know what? We should probably take your car with the Super Cruise. So coming back from Louisville, it just drives itself.
There you go. Yeah, someone's got to stay awake though for that.
Should we do over
We need
under
a Tesla.
bets on how much weight we gain?
Oh,
It's already started. It's already started, and it's we got to figure out how to not do that.
yeah. And we're excited to see you guys. Make sure you come and find us because we've got things to give away. We always appreciate those conversations. We appreciate your feedback when you let us know we're on the right page. 515-207-9640 for text messages. We had one just a couple weeks ago that wasn't doing so hot. Needed someone just to chat to. So wanted to let you guys know that we're here for you there. We'll be recording an episode around mental health as well coming up for this spring. We're all in this together. Again, connect at farm4profit.com. That'll get you to our email. 2 ways to connect and let us know if we should talk to somebody that you know or if you want to be a guest. But who's our guest today, Corey?
I'll get them introduced. This is a fun show, but it's a little bit different.
If I could throw out a disclaimer for you, I don't know if you want to add it to the beginning or not. I'm not representing Tulare County or Tulare County Sheriff's Office. I no longer work for them. I'm just sharing you my experiences while I was there.
Gotcha.
If just so nobody gets confused.
Today on the Farm for Fun show, we go a little bit off our beaten path. Metals are soaring in the world. Margins are down in the farm and the rural areas, which makes for a lot of sticky fingers. This man is a law enforcement ag crimes unit member and has developed something to deter that. Please welcome from Porterville, California, Mr. Bobby Rader.
Woo! Welcome.
Morning, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Look at that professional setting that he's sitting in.
I know. He was all worried about being framed up. I'm like, man, you're a professional. You've done this before. It looks
We're
good.
getting interviewed by the FBI here.
Yeah, we've done nothing.
We've done nothing.
Stolen nothing.
Hold harmless.
Allegedly.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you all this morning.
So you're coming to us from California.
What part of California is
Yeah.
Porterville in?
We are in the southern end of the San Joaquin Central Valley along the eastern edge along the Sierra Mountains. So this is not the California that most people think of. We are very rural. This is cowboy and farming country right here.
Okay.
Yeah, when we got, a couple years ago now, we got to come out to Tulare, California for the World Ag Expo. And I will tell you, our misconceptions of California was real.
Yeah.
I mean, we drove down to the valley. It is truly beautiful, ag everywhere. The diversity is amazing.
Well, thank you. So if you were in Tulare at the Ag Show, if you drive 15 miles east, you'd be in Porterville.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that definitely
Dri-
helps.
Drive till you hit the mountains and stop.
Okay. Yeah, we stayed an extra day and drove up into the mountains and got to see the big redwoods. General Sherman up there were the
Oh yeah,
largest tree by volume in the
yeah,
world. Huge.
it is. We've got an enormous mountain range on our eastern perimeter here, and we've got some of the best cattle raising country that you can find anywhere in the country, right here in Tulare County and the greater San Joaquin Valley. It's an amazing place to live if you're into ag of any kind.
Yep.
This is the mega center, if you will.
At Ag Explorer, farmers always come first.
In late 2025, Tim, the CEO at Ag Explorer, and I had a conversation, and he made it clear that while costs are rising in agriculture, Ag Explorer is holding prices steady for the 2026 growing season.
That's right. It's a commitment to the farmer that has been unmatched. At Ag Explorer, agronomic solutions are built on trust, integrity, and putting farmers first always.
Learn more at www.agexplore.com. That's agxplore.com.
So you live in agriculture country, but you're wearing a necktie with a tie clip, so that normally doesn't go together. Help us understand what's your tie to ag here.
Disclaimer: I hate this thing.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't stand wearing. I would be in a long sleeve shirt and a cowboy hat all day, but I do. I represent one of the finest law enforcement agencies around here, and I do my very best to represent them as professionally as I can.
Very good. Well, this is a fun
Yes, sir.
show, so we like to get a little background about the person before we talk about what we actually are going to talk about today. So let's talk about little Bobby. Did you always grow up in California, or how'd you get to where
That's
you are?
actually you must have talked to my dad. I'll have to talk to him about this. That's my nickname, Little Bobby.
Little Bobby.
My dad's Big Bobby, even though I'm twice his size. Go figure. Grew up right here in Tulare County. I've lived here my entire life, and all of my parents, my uncles, all worked in ag, mostly labor jobs, all my life. So I grew up going with my mom to the packing house, and I would watch her and my aunts and my grandmother sort citrus for sizing along the big conveyor lines, and they were standing up on the big catwalks, and the fruit was coming fast, and all the ladies were up there sorting and sizing fruit, and us kids sat there and waited. As I got a little bit bigger and I was old enough to drag brush, my family took side jobs in the fields and lemons and citrus groves, pomegranates, anything that we could do to earn extra money. So as a young man, dragging brush, cleaning rows. I got into junior high, got my very first job working on a goat dairy, the Raleigh goat dairy here in Visalia, and worked to help feed that operation and work those animals. And then as I got into high school, my family had a small cow calf operation, about 110 mother cows in the foothills here above Exeter, and started doing a lot of day work and riding horses for people and exercising their animals for them and taking care of their place while they were gone, and just doing what I could, what country boys do. They get out and work in their free time. And then moving on into high school, I pretty much, for 2 years of high school, I baled hay all night and went to school during the day, during the summer and fall seasons, and had a lot of fun doing that, and pretty much did all that kind of work growing up.
I'm glad. I didn't realize that's where you were from in California before the interview started, but all the valleys and the towns that you're mentioning, we've been in.
Yeah.
We stayed in Visalia.
Mm-hmm.
That it's kind of neat, brings back some memories of a real fun trip. I want to know, because we've never interviewed anybody that's been a part of a goat dairy before. Is it like a cow dairy, just everything smaller?
Identical to a cow dairy, just goats. And I spent, I think, 2 summers, and my job was to feed, clean up mess, and dehorn goats. And yeah, wasn't my favorite job on my resume, but I had some cash in my pocket as a young man.
Do you eat goat cheese?
I do not.
Yeah.
I do not.
I'm going to tell you, I never have developed a palate for it myself. I always feel like it just tasted off to me. In Spain, remember that goat cheese salad we had?
I do. You liked it way more than I did. I ate the heart of the wheel.
Yeah. I don't know. Something about that was fantastic.
I think you licked the plate.
It was very good. But then we had cheesecake, and they didn't tell us that was. They're like, "Oh no, this is not made with goat milk or goat cheese." It tasted like goat cheese, gross. And I did not eat that.
Yep. Yeah. So when you're milking in a goat dairy, did you have automations? Did it have any robots?
Yeah, Yeah, the milk barn did. I never got to work in there because I was the young kid. I was meant for the hard labor. And so I was outside in the muck and the mess but you know what? I'm so glad I did it. When you're 12 years old and a farmer you respect trusts you enough, back in those days the training was a little bit different. That's a tractor, that's a steering wheel, that's the throttle, don't crash.
Yeah.
And you figure it out and you do everything you can not to let that man down, right? And so I'm so glad I got to work there. I got to learn how to drive tractors. I got to learn how to do things right. I got to learn how to take a butt chewing, which occurred 15, 20 times a day. I got to learn how to care for animals and identify when they weren't feeling well or something was wrong. And I remember as a young man having that feeling of being trusted and learning to have some responsibility. And I tell you what, that's the best place to get it is on somebody's farm where they're holding you accountable and making you try hard. That's the best place to be.
Guys, Bobby just said it wasn't my most favorite job ever, and it cued my memory a long time ago to my worst job I've ever had. It makes me wonder, what are your worst jobs like you've ever had?
Oh, man, there's been a lot of bad ones. Probably the one that I hated getting up for the most was I stocked pop for shelves while I was in college.
Okay.
At grocery stores. And it wasn't a terrible job. It just, you had to get up at 4 a.m. and go be there before people were buying groceries.
Yeah.
And it never failed. There would always be a pallet of pop or something that fell and exploded everywhere. And it's just absolute sticky mess.
How about you?
Clean it up.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't ever really hate work, but the ones that I didn't enjoy the most is I was on the crew, a couple of farm kids that would get up early and unload semis at Fairway at the grocery store. We didn't do much stocking of the shelves, but we were the ones that were there to get it off the truck, out and stage where it needed to go. But probably the ones that I was the most frustrated with and coming home is, when you sort hogs with your family, you kind of have a system and a rhythm. Well, I'd help neighbors sort hogs, and I would come home absolutely pissed off every single time because it seemed like everybody else was an idiot. Like, why were they doing it backwards or wrong, or why couldn't they communicate or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible. I have some pretty vivid memories of that.
Well, even just different facilities, even though it looks the same on the outside, just different gate patterns and different flows of hogs. It's just, it's always different.
I thought I wanted to be a mechanic once, and I worked at Tires Plus, and I was the tire changer guy. Well, the day I started was like in January, and every car comes in soaking wet tires with that. At the end of the day, you're just soaking wet with all the slime, road grime, everything from taking these tires off. And I'd change oil and oil would drip on me. And this is like right in my prime dating. I'm like 17 years old and I got oil. I just stink. I'm like, I hate this job. So anyways, you cued my memory there. So it brought me back to changing tires.
So Bobby, what'd you do after high school?
Oh yeah. After high school, I had a bunch of jobs working in welding and fabrication, but ultimately landed at San Joaquin Valley Dairy Equipment in Tulare, about a half a mile from the Agri Center there where you were. And I was a technician. We automated dairies. So you used to be familiar with Westphalia Surge, Surge milking equipment, Westphalia milking equipment. And so what we did is we would go in and we would maintain, repair, remodel, or build new milk barns at dairies. And you remember when the rotaries started happening, When that whole fad started, we started building rotary barns, and then we'd get the service calls when they'd break down, or they'd have a milk pump seal go out, or refrigeration would go out, or whatever. So I spent 4.5, almost 5 years uh, working in the dairy industry, building their barns, adding new equipment, doing the technician work, and that was a great job. Um, in those 5 years in the 90s, um, if I remember right, it was a very exciting time for the dairy industry. Milk prices were high during that time. I want to say in 4.5 years, we started almost 50 new barn systems in and around Tulare County. It was busy. It was fun.
Wow.
Then
Yeah, I got to build the biggest. I got to participate in building the largest milk barn in the world.
Oh, wow.
In Corcoran. It was a double 60. So 23 and a half hours a day, 120 cows, like every 14 minutes were milked with a half-hour barn wash, system wash time at the end of the day. At the time, that was the largest milk barn in the world.
Wow.
Nice.
That is pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
I remember driving out of town to go out to the World Ag Expo, and the first like real farm that we saw that wasn't a grove of trees, wasn't almonds or pistachios or something like that. It was a dairy farm, and I knew there was dairy in California, but I was just like, huh, it's just like
they're everywhere.
It's just like back home, it's just got cattle and all that. It's nuts.
Yep,
nuts.
It's nuts.
Nuts.
It's milk.
It's
So like we've heard a lot of rural, we've heard a lot of ag. Like I haven't heard anything about law enforcement. How did you get into the law enforcement side of things?
Yeah. So I always had the instinct, and so it all started when I was probably 5 or 6. My family, we used to go to the Wood Lake Rodeo. In fact, I've never missed a Wood Lake Rodeo in my entire life. I'll be 50 this year.
Wow.
Anyway, long story short, I was just a kid, and I was dragging my pony around by lead, messing with the other kids, and a deputy sheriff or some sort of a law enforcement officer walked up and was saying hi to us kids. Well, my childhood hero was John Wayne, and this man looked exactly like John Wayne, and I remember thinking this probably was John Wayne. And just a big, stout, broad-shouldered, broad-chested deputy sheriff or sheriff, whoever he was. And I just remember everything about him and the way he treated me. And it had a profound impact on me as a young man. And it's something that I hung on to. And I always wanted and had the instincts to get into law enforcement. But when I was 29, I decided, or I was 30 actually, I decided it was time that I was going to get out of ag and get out of working in the ag industry, and was going to pursue a career in law enforcement. And I put myself through the police academy and was hired by the Tulare County Sheriff's Office in 2008. And the race was on. The race was on.
So
Best decision I ever made.
You've went that direction, but it's not, you still found your way back into ag within law enforcement.
Well, so when you work for a valley sheriff's office, the leadership in that sheriff's office is always looking for, typically looking for people with ag experience, because ag crimes is such a prevalent problem here. I refer to it as an epidemic. And my sheriff's office is unique, or the Tulare County Sheriff's Office is unique, because they actually started, Sheriff Bill Whitman in the early 90s created the very first ag crimes unit in the United States in the early 90s. And so the Sheriff's Office has a long, rich history of providing a higher level investigation service in the ag crime space than any other sheriff's office in the state of California. And so once they got to know me a little bit, and they realized that, I'd worked in ag my whole life and I knew my way around, I knew who a few people were, I knew who to call if there was a, this or that. I knew what a baler was. I knew what a circle harrow was. I knew what this was, that, and so on. They said, hey, we need to get you involved in our ag crimes unit. And that's how things are done at the sheriff's office. They handpick the right people with a long or a background, a childhood, if you will, in ag, so that they can get up to speed more quickly.
That's interesting. And I didn't realize that there wasn't more specialized ag crimes unit. I mean, sure, we knew about, the Rangers in Texas that would, try to stop cattle rustlers, but in the grand scheme of things, what's the most prominent type of crime that happens in agriculture, or at least in your area?
In the Central Valley of California, and I would, the most prevalent is definitely equipment theft and copper wire theft.
Really?
That's what we see the most. Oh yeah.
It doesn't. Okay, not to cut you off, but I've always had a weird misconception maybe of copper theft. It seems like an awful lot of work to get not very much weight. To be able to strip copper wire out of, pull it in. I mean, maybe older buildings it's more exposed, but I'm sitting there, you got to pull that out of Romex. You got to yank it all the way out, and then you end up with a thin wire that you got to melt down.
I don't know. I remember, taking down some old buildings and houses and stuff, and you'd go take the water lines were all copper back, not PEX, anymore. And
didn't think about water lines.
I remember, gosh, I was in high school, and $100 is a lot in high school. I remember getting, $180, $200 for taking in some copper. I'm like, I thought I was rich.
I don't think you said the word epidemic. I guess we live in Midwest Nice. I've never even crossed my mind this topic of ag crime, other than somebody stole some tractor weights from Corey and he got all mad.
I got bit with it, first.
But I guess there's farm equipment everywhere outside, all across. Now in central United States, we tend to put it in machine sheds. You go out towards Montana, where I'm from, and there is everything just sits outside. Everything sits outside. When we were in California, I saw a lot of equipment sitting outside. I wonder if we normally put ours in a machine shed, though, to keep it nice over time and protect the asset, not necessarily for theft, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know I cut you off, Bobby, but I had to get that out there. So it's equipment theft and copper wire. What else?
So we get a lot of vehicle theft. In California, vehicles are also trailers. So you got trap wagons, fuel wagons, trailers, utility trailers or flatbed trailers for various things. A lot of quads, a lot of ATVs, side-by-sides get stolen quite a bit. A lot of batteries, a lot of fuel theft. Let's see here. A lot of large equipment. So if you want to look up Operation Tractor Pull, if you want to look that up, in 2024, my team identified a sophisticated group out of Los Banos, California, that was stealing, full-size giant backhoes, front loaders, cramming them into standard box trucks, box trailers for diesel trucks, and shipping them to Mexico. And we broke up that ring. But we get one farmer. He bought a brand new case backhoe. I want to say he paid $160,000 for it. He took delivery of it one day. He used it for like 2 hours, checking it out. Parked it, came back the next morning. It was gone. Wow. It's in Mexico. So we get a lot of we got it all here. That's why here in Tulare County, and you got Kern, Kings, and Fresno, we're all pretty well in sync with each other because we're neighbors. But you see the heart of it right here. You see more ag crime here than any place else.
That's crazy.
It's where it's most prevalent right here. This is the epicenter.
You know what did get pretty bad there a few years ago was GPS globes off of tractors.
Because, I could see that.
Yeah, people were, there was a shortage because of coming out of COVID, and to me that just seemed to be like one of the dumbest things ever, because I figured like once they plug them things in, wouldn't John Deere or Case be able to go, there it is.
There's a serial number.
But apparently that there's not. Do you guys have GPS issues out there as well?
So here's the problem with GPS trackers. They work great They're very reliable. Two things. One, the criminal has figured out how to go up to a tractor in the middle of the night. They know what the factory wires look like and how they're set up. So if they see anything different, they follow that. They find the GPS tracker. They unplug it and leave it there on the ground. So they just disable it right there, or they just don't care. A lot of farmers, a lot of ag businesses, they're not sitting and watching these trackers, or they don't hear the email in the middle of the night if they have their alerts set up right. And so Mexico's an 8-hour drive if you don't hit 8 to 9 hours at the most if you don't hit heavy traffic. So if the tractor's stolen at midnight, they know at daylight it's going to be across the border and there's nothing anybody can do about it anyway. I can recall cases where the GPS is still pinging in various places in Mexico. We just can't go get them back.
So shouldn't the border be like going, oh, you guys are bringing your third backhoe over this week and don't have papers or nothing?
Yeah, right.
Shouldn't they be
Yeah.
looking at stuff like that, or they don't?
Yeah, no, I think they do a pretty good job given what they got. I mean, you can go down to the border at any given time and there's like 500,000 people there trying to do this or that, and to watch it all is quite impossible.
It's just
I think
a
they're doing a
game of
good job.
volume.
It is, truly.
Have you guys ever accidentally stolen a piece of farm equipment?
I feel like there's a story coming.
I don't think so.
Do we need to put a disclaimer on this show?
I had a disc behind our place when we bought our first acreage, and I asked the guy who we'd bought the acreage from. I said, "Hey, is that your disc that it was kind of parked back by the ditch?" He says, "Yeah, that's ours." I said, "Oh, great." And so we were using it there for a little while. And my dad in Montana said, "Boy, I'd like to have that." I said, "Well, let's just load it up and take it back." So he took it all the way back to Montana. And then finally a neighbor comes over. He's like, "Hey, do you know what happened to my disc that's right here?" And I said, "The one that was parked right here." I said, that was Ron's, who I bought the place from." He's like, "No, it wasn't. That was mine."
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, well, it's in Montana now."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that's all right." I'm like, "Well, tell me what I owe you." And we settled up, but it was like a year and a half later, we found out we had stolen, air quotes, the wrong piece of equipment.
Well, we thought somebody was, because I would say around this area, what I've heard more, like you said, is the globes, it's the fuel, and then it's tools. It seems like if equipment's parked at the edge of a field, you're not missing a combine in the morning, but you might be missing all the tools that were in your toolbox, or you might be missing fuel that was in your fuel trailer. We came back, we had our telehandler sitting in the field, and came back the next day when we were loading bales with it, and it was out of fuel, completely empty.
I want to borrow people's dozers. Like, I don't know if they'll know it's gone by tomorrow. I'll put it back. I just need it for a little while.
Follow the tracks. Turns out nobody stole fuel from us though with that telehandler. We came back to realize that the last person to load bales never shut it off, and it just ran out of fuel. But we did have someone come into one of our shops and took every Milwaukee tool we had, left everything else, but took every Milwaukee tool.
Stuff that's easy to carry and expensive.
How many of your guys' piece of farm equipment don't have the keys in them, or?
Oh, they all got them in it.
Everything's got it. I mean, I can't imagine
the
any
only
piece
ones that don't have it in it. It's because it doesn't need it.
Yeah,
it still runs without a key.
We'll pull the key if we're leaving it in the field and we're a ways from the farm, just to deter the simple person that's trying to get in there and get the GPS, the whole monitor and all that kind of stuff. But
I know a lot of our friends in Nebraska and irrigation country do have to do some really routine checks on their systems, making sure that their pivot motors, their pumps, their fuel supply, that's a pretty big issue there out in Nebraska.
Yeah. It's I call it an epidemic, and I think the reason that I do is, I describe my background to you guys, and I have a lot of friends and family that are in ag. They make their living in ag. I mean, it's our livelihood, and it's impossible not to care. And so where I come from, then I transitioned to law enforcement, and you're given all this training and you're given all these tools, and you have these really good instincts and drive to, hey, I'm here, I want to make things better, right? And you're talking to a farmer that and they're so angry, they're digging a hole in the ground with their foot while they're talking to you and answering your questions. And that I got goosebumps right now thinking about that desire to make things better for that man. watching him torment, watching him be angry and upset. And I know what's going through his mind. Am I going to pay for this out of my own pocket, or am I going to turn it into insurance? What happens to me if I turn this into insurance this time? Am I going to get dropped? Well, this might be the 5th time in 1 week that I'm out there taking a report for something. And it's gone on long enough.
I was going to ask you.
Something more has to be done.
I was going to ask you if there's insurance for that or how it gets dealt with. And
yeah.
And I'm sure that's the factor is, okay, if it's $500 worth of stuff or $1,000 worth of stuff, it's not worth me turning in for the potential rate.
Oh yeah, let me tell you, sir. The math these boys are doing out here is, am I going to turn in a $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 loss of copper wire to insurance? Am I going to turn in a $50,000 damage? I know some farmers that have self-insured that and not called their insurance company, because the thefts like that happen so often. They really have to weigh, do I call insurance or do I eat it? I know farmers that have personally ate more than $100,000 on any given season without turning into insurance because it made more sense not to.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So when does this become that it's a social norm? And the reason I say that is I traveled to British Columbia last year. And when I was in British Columbia, we don't have a lot of people steal stuff that I know in the Midwest. You don't see it anyways. And I'm in British Columbia and we're in a store and I literally watched the guy walk in, grab the stuff off the shelf, and the checkout's right there. Everybody's watching this guy and just walks out. And I said to the clerk there, I'm like, hey, that guy just stole that stuff. She's like, yeah. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. Like, you want me to chase him down? And she's like, no.
Yeah.
And then we went to the next store and we're just baffled by this. And I'm watching a guy with a backpack on his front. He was just putting cologne and stuff from the department store in his bag. And I went and looked at him like, what are you doing? And he zipped his bag up and walked right out the door. And I finally asked a couple of clerks and they said, yeah, we don't even address it anymore. We're not supposed to confront them. We're not supposed to address them. We just write it off as a company. I'm like, well, if you're writing stuff off as a company, screw this. Why am I paying for it? Now I have to pay more. I'm making up the difference. So are all our ag people making up the difference because we're writing off hundreds of thousands?
They are farmers out here, at least in California, and I know in other parts of the country, they are eating the loss. They can't pass on a loss because the markets control prices for the things that they create, right? If they're creating corn, that's a market price. If they're raising beef, that's a market price. They don't get to go to the sales yard and say, hey, I want an extra, 0.2 cents a pound or whatever negotiated for this or that.
So do you
it's
think
a set market price.
You think it's just an accepted practice? I mean, everyone that I talked to there was like, yeah, it's just normal. Like, people steal stuff. And we were just blown away. Is that in your area? I mean, are people just, it's farm crime. It's farm crime.
Yes, but for a different reason. They're not, to say that it's accepted. I would not say that. What I would say it is it's so prevalent and so common that it's not accepted. It's just expected.
Huh.
And there's several different factors that come into that. And I won't get into the politics at all, but California is not as strong on crime as some other states are. And so with legislation like AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, it's very difficult to put somebody in jail for any length of time. And so we have a really big wheel of repeat offenders, and it's very common. Well, if you do this for 20 years and nothing changes, well, then it becomes the normal. So it's not accepted, it's expected, sadly. And you can go into any coffee shop here in around the county and talk to any number of farmers, and Bill got hit again, doggone it, this and that. Boy, I hate to see this happen, things like that. But then they jump in their truck and go to work, and it's another day, and you find another one. And Tulare County is the leader of ag crimes. We always have been. And so I got thrust into the epicenter of this, and I kind of made it my specialty throughout my law enforcement career. and so, something more had to be done, and that's exactly where the copper lock came from. It was purely out of it was out of necessity and frustration. At my kitchen counter at 3 a.m, I was drinking coffee. I was angry. I was thinking about a bandit that was out in the county stealing we were trying to catch him and having a hard time doing it. And we, as ag crimes detectives, we have to go into the most rural parts of an area where there is no evidence left. There is no time frame when the crime occurred. We solve cases with pieces of shoe track this big in the dirt or mud or on concrete, or it's very difficult. And so 3 a.m, I'm drinking coffee. I'm angry, racking my brain. What can I do? What else can be done? What are we missing? There's got to be something more, and that's where the idea for Copperlock hit me. And but I want to emphasize it was out of pure frustration. Something we've been doing this for 30 years, and it's the same thing. And if you look at the ag crime space, it's void of innovation, in my opinion. I've been searching for tools and technology for almost 20 years. I've been doing this, and all I can find is the newest version of the next game camera, which are awesome. But it's not enough. It doesn't go far enough. And the private sector is going to be the biggest driver of change for ag crimes. And if you'll allow me, I'll tell you why.
Well, as winter comes to an end, it's time to start thinking ahead. Spring preparation starts now, and Soukup is here to help you get ready.
From grain bins and dryers and material handling to storage solutions, Soukup provides the equipment farmers rely on season after season.
Now it's time to plan, prep, and get your operation ready for that big rush.
Visit Soukup.com to explore products and find trusted Soukup dealer near you.
Soukup, bins built better.
Farmers innovate. People like y'all innovate. Look at the farming industry globally. Look at what's been done with DNA and genetics and water and all the different technology. I mean, tractors can drive themselves and never get off a line. I mean, it's unbelievable the technology that's happened, the genetics, the science that's occurred in farming to grow food for a hungry world. Well, the space to protect all of that is void of innovation. I know because I've investigated thousands of ag crimes cases, or I oversaw them. And you got cops all across the nation that are constantly Googling, going to trade shows, going to trainings, calling people, calling each other. Hey, is there anything? What's out there? What's going on? And it's always a game camera or a video surveillance camera. It's never anything else. And the space of ag security, in my opinion, we need to do some work. And since the copper lock came up, the team I'm working with now, Farm Blocks, we're trying to create some change in this space and looking at some ideas for what the future might look like, because I think it's needed.
So what angle are you trying to take? Because, you got the ADTs of the world that are a security system, latch monitoring, camera surveillance. Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's all kinds of companies like that exist. But what are you seeing as a key to making this work for agriculture?
Yeah. So the ADTs of the world, I've been in every rural corner of my county and others for almost 2 decades. I've never seen an ADT device at a pump site. They're not set up for it. They are traditional alarm companies, and they're great. They're great, but their forte is large buildings, commercial buildings, homes, residences, things of that nature. But to get out in a very rural place where it's difficult, where there may be no cell signal, there may be just poor access, a smaller, more mobile, more flexible device was needed, or system rather, to operate in those environments, and that's what the copper lock does. What the copper lock does fundamentally is it creates change for the criminal and provides opportunity to the farmer. And what I mean by that is the reason ag crimes is so prevalent is because the criminal gets to go out to, look, you can throw a rock and hit a water pump out here. I mean, they're everywhere. There's many hundreds of thousands of them. You pull off the road 10 feet, you're hidden by orange trees, or 2 miles, you're still hidden by orange trees. You can sit there for 10 hours. You could sit there sometimes for 2 days, and no one's ever going to see you. There's no witnesses. There's no video cameras. There's nothing. So the farmer comes along 2 weeks later, sees that it's hit, does not know when it occurred. I last saw it 2 weeks ago. Okay. So with the copper lock there, the way the trigger system works, they can't begin the process of committing the theft without the copper lock being activated. The trigger wire, when installed correctly, is unavoidable. And that creates an immediate consequence for the criminal. They have to think about that. They no longer get to sit there and do what they want for as long as they want without having to look over their shoulder. Now there's immediate consequences there on site, and everybody else gets notified. So the farmer now has the opportunity, and law enforcement, okay, this is what's going on out here. We need to get out there. 17 years of doing this, I've never responded to a copper wire theft in progress. Not ever. Now we can.
What about changing? Maybe you're thinking on the front end, a device, something new that versus, in my mind, I think culture. I have never, other than accidentally stealing something, ever stole anything in my life because my dad was a Marine and he would literally cut my hand off. So
Yeah.
It was just instilled. When do we just start hanging people and literally send a message? I know there's other countries that do. So rather than being, just so passive about it, why don't we make a punishment to where, like, I still think nobody around here is going to touch my stuff because they know I'm going to come with a gun. I mean, my wife always asks, aren't you going to lock car? I said, they'd be stupid to steal from me. But I mean, they would, it's what I think in my head, but that's the thought process. If criminals don't have that thought process, they don't think they're going to be, you just said, now they have to take a second to think, to look over their shoulder rather than even looking over their shoulder when they're doing it. Back up before they even thought about doing it and saying, we're going to get shot. like when does that happen? When do farmers take arms?
It's possible. It's possible. There are some farmers, even in California, believe it or not, that won't tolerate this kind of thing. But they got to be careful because they don't want to lose their livelihood or do the wrong thing that puts themselves at risk. No doubt about it. And do I think that California needs to take a more proactive approach and a more stricter approach on crime and repeat offenders? I absolutely do. But, you said culture change. When you said that, my mind went to another aspect of it, and that is farmers, growers accepting change.
Yeah.
And that's difficult, and no doubt about it. And I get it for good reason. I mean, I grew up in this world. I totally understand. But we're seeing younger generation farmers now that are more accepting of technology, and I think that has been one of the biggest drivers towards the copper lock taking off and becoming more popular. It's really techy. Farm blocks, I mentioned earlier, when I started working with them and met them, one of the first questions I had for Nathan Rosenberg, Mark Prince, Farm Blocks, was, did they have a spirit for trying to make things better in the crime world? I understood that they had a deep and broad background in technology. And it was crazy. I meet these guys from Boston, and they're super techie and super smart and engineers and this and that, and I would have never thought. But they do. They have a drive to help this space, and that was really exciting for me. And that's really what led me to to say, yeah, I'm going to go along with Farm Blocks on this, and utilize their resources and go with them, because I found them to be right-minded. And let me tell you, they have done phenomenal things with the copper lock, and making it better, re-engineering it, and making it a far better product than I was able to do by myself a year and a half ago when I built the first prototypes. Yeah,
Dave, I would
that
say
culture of technology.
You want to change the whole culture. One man is not going to, or one group of men or
Yeah.
people is not going to change a culture. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
But one person can create. It's kind of like, what's the lowest form of enforcement is just presence, right? Having an
Yeah.
officer there. This is having something
sir.
there to deter it. And so one person is making a large step towards progress. I would like to know how the copper lock actually functions and how someone can buy
Yeah.
it and install it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, thank you. So the copper lock, using Farm Blocks system, I'll call it. So it operates on a monitoring box, and it's about the size of 2 packs of cigarettes. Has a battery, and it lasts about 5 years, and a solar panel. So you don't got to hook the copper lock to any power. It's totally self-sustaining. That monitor box plugs into a cut sensor, and that cut sensor has a long wire that comes out of it that you can make longer. And so what you do is you go over to your, let's say your panel system. You got your panel side and you got your pump side. And let's say your pump side is 40, 50 feet away from that panels. So you're going to go over to the panels, and let's say there's 2 of them there. You're going to mount your monitoring box, run that cut sensor up into a panel. Now from there, you totally integrate that wire, that trigger wire, inside and outside of all the conduit systems. You shove all the way down, you pull wire all the way through your conduit, you come out of the panel with a cord grip or some other fixture, and you obnoxiously wrap the exterior of the conduit all the way down through the 90 where the criminal attacks, and then take it back up in there, go over to the next panel, repeat that process. It's not as hard as it sounds. Usually takes me about 3 hours to do your typical install. Now, you got to understand how the criminals go about this. They open panel doors and shut off power. They open panel doors and they make cuts on the 3-phase wire inside the panel. They typically will just turn off the disconnect and cut the riser conduits. Then they expose 3 or 4 or 5 feet of wire, and they wrap a tow strap around it, hook it to their vehicle, and they drive off at a high rate of speed. That's what creates the enormous damage caused by copper wire theft. So what we want to do is create a consequence for the criminal before they actually hurt anything. Farmers would be all too happy if you just stole their wire. It's gotten that bad. Now what they hope is, please don't destroy all my infrastructure. So what we see all too often out here is these guys are stealing $50, $60 worth of copper, but causing $20,000, $40,000 worth of damage because the VFD's been destroyed. Right? And so when you take that trigger wire and you totally integrate it inside and outside of everything, we also put a door motion sensor inside the panel that measures smaller than the thickness of a piece of paper. And when you open the panel door, it triggers an alarm. We're trying to create a consequence and a notification sequence before anything's been hurt.
How are you letting them know that they're doing a problem or creating a problem?
You mean what happens when the trigger is cut?
Well, yeah, exactly. I imagine someone or you, the farmer, the law enforcement's getting a notification, but you're saying now they have to look over their shoulder. Is there something that's an alarm that's going off that they know, oh boy, I better get out of here?
Yes, sir. We have a what we call an alarm kit. It's the same siren that we have on our patrol cars and the same lights. So real bright, flashy, kind of looks like the front bumper of a patrol car, and the siren's really loud. And so when that siren and light goes off, the criminal now has to think, okay, I no longer get to sit here in the dark and do what I want for as long as I want. Somebody's going to hear that. If that's going off, well, near the alarm kit, there's also a base station, and the criminal will notice that, and they will probably they have to ask themselves, okay, how many people are being notified that I'm here? My time is limited, and so they will probably just leave. I have 3 incidents where the copper lock has ran the criminal off where they did not stay to commit the theft. No one has stayed to commit the theft yet. They've just left once it's activated. But you can program as many people. I can have you, every one of you notified, and every one of your family members notified that this is going on, all simultaneously. If a law enforcement agency is set up for text alerts, then you can also program that phone number in there, and your law enforcement agency can be notified at the same time that you are. So the criminal now has a consequence where one did not exist before. They now have to recalculate and figure out what they're going to do. How quickly do they even want to stay and mess with it? But now the farmer now has the opportunity to get involved and do something for his or herself, where right now that opportunity doesn't exist.
Corey, have you ever had, and or Bobby, have you ever had, we're talking equipment, we're talking copper, hard assets. I thought, boy, if I knew you posted on social media that you and your family were going on vacation, why couldn't I come to your grain bins and just fill up a couple loads of corn and take it somewhere? And nothing's really damaged. You probably don't even know that, you
don't know until the end of the year.
Until the end of the year, you're like, wait a minute, I'm short bushels. What happened, to what you thought was there? I think back to people that do like embezzlement, and maybe they just take, $100 here and then, $300 here, and they're just skimming off the top or skimming off the top of the register. Could you skim crops?
Oh yeah. People do. I mean,
oh yeah.
And then there's just, in general, there's just crop insurance fraud, type stuff. Just the farmer itself is, misreporting and taking advantage of the system. There's a lot of ways to be a bad actor, I guess.
Yeah, we've heard about that with our friends out there in hay country. They've got stacks of hay on the field.
Yeah,
if you just take one load, if you don't have good records, you don't even know that the one load is missing.
Yeah.
I know there was some online jokes going around in our area. One of the BTOs had hired security, and whether it was true or not, that rumor was being spread around the area because they always had, 2 combines and 2 grain carts and 4 semis in this field, and then another in this field, and then their tillage in that field. And supposedly they had a guy, gal, whoever it was, that drove around all night and just made a unpatterned approach to protecting their assets. Nobody ever confirmed it and saw it, and then it was just a joke that they were doing this because they pissed off everybody in the neighborhood renting land away from them. That so something was going to happen.
How do you think this worked? I got a call from a sheriff, Benton County, last week, and he called me because I had called a guy out in Colorado, see if he wanted to sell his farm. The reason is I get text messages that say, "Hey, I'd like to sell my farm." And so, Bobby, I'm a realtor, and this guy called me and texted me and said, "I'd like to sell my farm. Here's the parcel ID. Here's where it is. Let me know what you need. Could I get an estimate?" Pretty legit. We worked up an estimate. I looked at it. Guy's name matches the records for taxes, but my radar was off just because I was profiling. And he had a foreign accent. And I thought, well, there's not a lot of people with that accent that are local here, but he didn't live local either. He's an absentee landowner. So I looked up my absentee landowner list. He doesn't live here. So, okay, it's adding up anyway. And we went and looked at it again. I thought, man, there's something just about it. And I don't know what it was, but I said, this probably isn't the right guy. So I had my team actually cross-reference the address for tax records through, we have a system called Forewarn for realtors. And his number was from Idaho, said he lived in Colorado, and the guy was calling from Florida. Okay. That was the only thing that triggered me at all. Well, So I said, would you please send me a copy of the deed just to call him out to see if he had it? And sure enough, he had it. And he sends me a copy of the deed. So I'm like, all right, well, he's like, when can we sign the papers? I said, well, I'll send you a contract, here's your email, whatever, this is what I'm going to charge. And went there. And finally, one of my staff members.
Did they say you could charge 4%? And you just like,
they did. As much as I wanted to charge. That's it's the only way to really qualify it. I'm going to charge you 20%. Okay, we're good. Okay. Then, okay, it's fake. But so I found the real person who owned the farm, called them. Well, then they thought I was a scammer. So they called the sheriff's office and said, sheriff calls me. He's like, hey, why were you calling Mark? And I'm like, because I was trying to warn him that somebody's trying to scam his property. He said, this is the 4th time this week that somebody's called on that specific property. I don't know what the game is. So I sign a contract with you. I say sold. We collect the money. Do they just hope that we wire it to the wrong person? And then do we end up in court after the deal? I don't know.
Yeah, and who's that fall on?
Probably me.
Man, that's tough.
Probably me in the middle because I listed with this guy.
Get a copy of the deed and all that.
Iowa Land Records, free online source. You can go look up anybody's. I can get a deed, an easement, or whatever. He had a copy of it, and so he done his homework as a thief. I don't know. Do you have any of that kind of stuff out there? The guy was trying to get me to sell somebody's farm, and then hope we closed on it. I mean, there would have been a process there, and give him the cash.
We see a lot of sophisticated financial crimes, cargo theft, millions and millions of dollars of pistachio cargo theft each year, high-end financial crimes, embezzlements, you name it. We see it out here. You betcha. I've seen that before.
I think we're getting into a digital crime world. Like the gentleman that we interviewed the other day, I think more people are going to try to just prey. Yeah. I'm going to say prey on older folks that don't know.
Yeah, or the busy people.
Or the busy people.
Big time. Big time. The elderly are, in fact, my old agency that I used to work for before I took over as chief, our detectives broke open a case from an international organized crime group out of China, targeting elderly, who were literally walking up and getting these people to hand over their life savings, hundreds of thousands of dollars, just hand it to them and walking away. Unbelievable, the stuff we see today. And ag crimes is not getting better. The criminals are becoming more sophisticated, and I'm really excited to be working with Farm Blocks and looking at the tools that are being developed to try to help make this better in the future. We got to do something different.
Corey, you know how when you walk up to your truck, there's proximity keys now? Mm-hmm. I'm just waiting for you to make a video with your tractor that goes chirp, chirp every time you walk out of there.
I was going to ask, Dave, do you have a home security system?
I have a dog, and that is a deterrent for some people. A lot of bark, no bite. And no, other than I do have a 30-30 right next to the front door. That's about it.
Yeah.
So
I sit here and wonder how many folks on their farms have any type of security system. One, whatever's going to be right for you, just to be prepared for something like this. I mean, if economic times continue to slide, then it's just people get more desperate for income or ways to.
Yes,
so that's where I thought the grain thing is. If I'm a struggling farmer and I can just look like I got a load, I got another account. Maybe I'm a hired man for Corey. And I know the whole system. They go on vacation. I got one load out of there. They'll never know. I wonder how much of that actually happens.
There's rumors
all the time.
Yeah, there's rumors of that happening.
And the tougher the times, the more desperate you get.
Yeah, and we hit like you said in the beginning. It's all cameras. We just have a bunch of cameras everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
at least we have something.
Drug addiction is primarily the main driver for this type of crime, most crime actually. And so there's so many very real, very complicated aspects to this problem, and how to attack them all, I don't know. I just know that some change has to be created in this space. I hate seeing good, hardworking people, the salt of the earth of our country, losing their hard-earned property to criminals who just keep coming back, and something more has to be done to curb this and get them doing other things. Because I tell you what, you come with me one time and talk to a farmer and watch him do the math in his head when he's going, okay, this is going to cost me $40,000. What do I do? And you see that wheel spinning in his eyes. It'll make you angry too, and it'll make you want to try to make something better.
So you get caught. You caught somebody and they were stealing copper wire. I wouldn't even begin to know what the penalty would be. Do I give it back? Do
Yeah.
I return it? Like, I mean, what's the penalty?
Yeah, it's worthless once you rip it out. It can never be used again. It'd be too dangerous. There could be restitution where the court would order the person to pay the farmer back, but if they don't have a job and any money anyway, that's not a viable option. Most of the time, they are sentenced to some sort of a drug court, which does not have a high success rate. They're looking at anywhere from 30 days or less in jail at any given time, broken up. A lot of it's done through community service stuff. It's just in the state of California with various legislations, nobody goes to jail for long periods of time except for violent crimes anymore, really. So there's lots of fronts that need to be fixed to help make it better. And from my perspective, as the guy that's been called to, hey, come help me, come solve this, go catch this guy. From my perspective, the shortest, quickest answer to make things better is through technology and relationships with your law enforcement in your jurisdiction. I think new and innovative technological tools can have a profound impact in ag security, and I think that's ultimately the conversation I'm trying to start and get going with Copperlock. Is there needs to be more of this.
So, Bobby, how can someone get Copperlock if they're interested in it? What's it cost?
Yeah, so farmblocks.ag. Farmblocks based out here on the West Coast. It's blocks with an X. They have a great system in place to take your information and get you going real easy. Pricing, so each site's different. You can go to your typical is a one pump, one panel system. Sometimes there's 2 panels and a pump, and sometimes there's 4 pumps. So this is just an average of what I'm telling you right now. But your basic one panel, one pump, you're right around $3,300. And they also, FarmBlocks created a very attractive lease option, or a rental option rather, which makes getting started on multiple sites very inexpensive. And a lot of the clients out here on the West Coast have been choosing the rental option. And so you can buy or you can rent, and you can get started at farmblocks.ag and reaching out to those folks and give us your information, and we'll get started with you.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on, Bobby. I do want to ask, though, you mentioned Operation Tractor Pull. I'm sure
Yes,
in your 15, 16 years of duty that there was another one of those types cases that stuck out for you. Let's send our listeners away with one more story, if you don't mind, before we close out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably pistachio cargo theft if you want a big attractive story. Millions of dollars worth of pistachios stolen en route, highly sophisticated from international criminal networks through the booking system of trucks. So a legitimate trucker goes and picks up or a fake trucking company gets the bid to haul the load to, say, New Jersey. Let's say that a bunch of pistachios are going to a Costco in New Jersey. Well, that fake trucking company, with all the proper legal work, they subcontract to a legit trucker. So a legit trucker shows up, picks up the load, and then the trucker thinks he's going to New Jersey. Well, when he gets to I-5 and Gorman at the Grapevine, he gets a call, says, hey, change of plans. We need you to go pick up this other load, drop your load down in LA at any given place. We'll have another trucker take it. All perfectly legal and industry standard. That kind of thing happens all the time. So the legitimate trucker does what he's told, takes it, drops the load, picks up another load, goes off to another place where the criminal goes and picks up that load and does who knows what with it. My old team and I spent several weeks down in LA identifying the sophisticated network that pulls that kind of thing off. And that was a very interesting case.
I think we need Cops egg version.
We do. We so do. Yes. Hey, ag crimes cops are special, man. Let me tell you, we got to start with nothing. Most of the time, we got nothing. And I am so proud of the work that the guys I got to work with all those years, phenomenal detectives, and wonderful people. And you put those two combinations together, there's nothing they can't do. And I tell you what, I'd put my boys up against any investigation team in the world, and they would do just fine.
Man, I knew you'd have one, and I'm sure there's more where that came from. Again,
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for jumping on. Appreciate you doing that for us. It is great to get to meet somebody from an area we've been to before, and we've told every one of our Sonoma County wine growers the same thing, that the next time we're back in California, we're probably going to look you up.
Oh, that's great. Absolutely. Please do. And by the way, just know, if I could ever be in any assistance to you, if you guys have run across other crime-related stories that just drop me a call, please. I'll help provide you whatever information you need to help create your story or work on your program. I love talking about ag crimes. I love bringing awareness to it. And so if I can ever be a help to you behind the scenes, please feel free. Consider me a resource.
That's great. Appreciate you. Appreciate our listeners, as always. Thank you for hanging out with us. And Corey, what do you tell them?
Well, since it's morning, pour yourself a warm coffee. Have a good one.
Podcast. Take a listen. Have a blast. Farm4Profit Podcast.